What's up, everybody? Hey, it's good to see you. Welcome to another episode of Omens. Ooh, ghost voice. Ooh, come to church on Sunday. Ooh. I don't know. You never know what you're going to get. I like this little episode I do. I could just be weird, be myself. Holy moly. Okay, I have my phone I have my phone set to my channel so I can hear, you know, if the audio's good. And the freaking commercial surprised me super loud. You know, they always play the commercials like a billion times louder than the actual video is, right? What's up, everybody? Good to see you. Ready to talk about some weird stuff happening in the world? I am. Let's talk about some weird stuff. It's like we could do this segment forever. The world is getting crazier and weirder and stranger as the days go by. Momo, what's up, Momo? I see you in the chat. It's good to see everybody in the chat, actually. What's up, all you future people watching? I won't exclude any of you. All right, so check this out. Let's jump right into some stuff. This is going to be an ongoing segment. I have decided. I'm working a lot behind the scenes on my channel, my book, my website, etc. I'm doing a lot of work that you guys can't really see. But one of the things that I'm going to do is this segment right here, Omens. It's dedicated to just really talking about the signs and the omens that are happening worldwide. And it's not just a place for me to tell you what these signs and omens are. This is my place to open up to you my experiences and the things that I'm seeing and the things that I'm hearing and listening to as I listen to the song of the world. And it's our place to share what each other sees, right? There's many things that are happening out there that many of you get to experience that I don't. I'm just bringing to light my path and the things that I'm seeing. And I know for a fact, if I'm seeing it, it's a very good chance that many people around the world are also seeing similar types of things or having similar types of experiences. So let's jump into this. This is the only news you're going to get on my channel. And I'm going to destroy it every time. Every time I'm going to destroy the news. All right, let's tear the news apart. You ready? Gen2 Gone. Hey, thanks for the little donation. I super appreciate you. I like your little bird picture too. That's pretty cool. All right, cool. Let's jump into things. Let's see what we got. All right, so let's see. First thing we're going to talk about is rivers, lakes, ponds, streams, all disappearing everywhere around the world. This article right here says dry canals, low rivers, and shrunken lakes. Let me try to do that in my newscaster voice. I always wonder why they do that crazy, weird newscaster voice. Dry canals, low rivers, and shrunken lakes. Europe braces for severe drought amid winter heat wave, local residents are saying. I don't know. Isn't that how they sound? That's creepy, man. I wish they would just sound like that all the time. I wish I could cast a spell and have their voice get stuck like that so that they sound like that when they go through the drive-thru or when they're just hanging out with their friends or something. I think that would be a great prank. I'm not really a prank. Well, that's not true. I am a prankster, but I'm not really, I don't really like to prank people that much, but you know, when I do, I like to cast magic spells and make them stuck in their newscaster voices. Anyways, yeah, the lakes are drying up. The rivers are drying up. The ponds are drying up. Little freshwater reserves the world over. This is happening in the UK. This is happening in the United States. This is happening in some other places. Okay? All over the place. We're worldwide. There's droughts, they're saying. They're just saying it's a drought. At first, this was just the Euphrates. That was the big deal. Right? Or maybe like some local rivers, but now story after story are compiling one after another. Euphrates is drying up. And that was a big one because the Bible prophesies that the Euphrates will dry up, right? Which I've talked about a few times, believing that the Euphrates is has another location and that the Euphrates that we see is not the Euphrates that once was, or that still is, or that is to come. Anyways, yeah, all the freshwater supply is drying up worldwide. What the heck is going on? Why is it doing that? This one says that the Euphrates River is drying up and crisis looms, just as the Bible warned. Okay, now they're biblical experts, the newscasters, the spellcasters, the newscasters, the mainstream people are all of a sudden biblical experts, right? The Bible warned that this would happen. Okay, let's get a little context if we're going to go in that direction. But anyways, yes, it is mentioned in the Bible, right? That these things are drying up. This is a sign. This is what we're talking about on this whole segment. We interpret the things, the events that are happening to us individually, on a community-wide scale and collectively worldwide. And we interpret these things. Learning to interpret the signs and the omens in all seriousness is a very useful tool, or can be, in your life. In my life, it has been a very useful tool. It's provided a certain level of reassurance, of comfort, of knowing, like, hey, you're totally right. Just so you know, these things are totally happening from above or from the earth herself. Anyways, all the fresh water supplies are drying up, and yet, right? And yet, the world's rivers, why does it do that? It's so crazy. Hold on one sec. There we go. All right, so the world's rivers are drying up from extreme weather. See how they look from space or whatever, right? So all the rivers are drying up, and it says it's not just the Colorado River, it's the Rhine, the Volga, the Danube, all these different rivers. They're just drying up all the way around the world. I think it's really strange because the sea levels, according to mainstream thought, okay, it's not my thought. I don't go out there and measure the ocean, okay? I don't even live by the ocean. I really don't even care what the ocean does, as long as it stays over there. That's just me. I know some of you, I'm not trying to sound insensitive. I know some people are like, dude, I live on the ocean. Don't you care? Yeah, I totally care. And I recommend, investigate your local area and do what you believe is wise for yourself and your family. But anyways, they're saying that the ocean levels are going up while the freshwater supplies are going down. Isn't this interesting? What does this mean to you? What does this mean if the world is speaking to you and we're headed towards another cyclical apocalyptic event? Most likely the plasma apocalypse and the depressurization of the world. Which reminds me, by the way, I'll tell you at the end. But anyways, yeah, listen, I'm going to interpret this in my own little language, okay? Seawater is bitter water. Seawater is bad water. Seawater is water that you cannot drink, and therefore it's bad or it's bitter, right? I'm not saying it's evil or anything. I'm just saying it's not good for drinking, right? When the level of water that is not good for you gets higher and higher and higher in the world, and then the level of water that you need to live is getting lower and lower and lower, that's Mother Nature trying to tell you something, okay? That's Mother Nature trying to tell us something. As the world gets worse, just like with any animal or plant or whatever, if it has little, if it gets sick, basically, if it gets sick, then it will heat up, just like you. When you get the flu or something, it will fight away the sickness. It will fight away whatever is causing it to be polluted or toxic or sick or whatever, right? So it's not going to be any surprise for people like myself when all of a sudden there's worldwide sicknesses spreading left and right, and the world's getting hotter and hotter and basically catching a temperature because it needs to shake us off, and it will. All right. Anyways, yes, the ocean levels are rising. How do the ocean levels rise? Where do the oceans even come from? Right? Not really a topic that is, most people talk about. It's just taken for granted. All that huge, ridiculously large amount of water that takes up and represents most of the known world that we live on, even though we pretend like we live on land, right? Our world is really a water world, okay? It didn't used to always be a water world, and one day it will stop being a water world and become more of a tropical desert type of region. But anyways, where's all that water come from? I have a theory. I believe it's important to know where the water comes from in order to understand where the water's going. That's why I'm sharing that with you. I feel like it's wise to understand the beginnings of things. Therefore, you can interpret the meaning of current events And therefore, you can prophesy and look into the future as those things are bound to repeat themselves, right? All right, so anyways, the water basically comes from the sky, okay? There's a time that we go through whenever the inner earth energy shoots out into these huge blue sky beams the world across, and I believe that that's ionized oxygen, and that it fills up the sky, just filling up with oxygen. And then during the apocalyptic event, or when the world depressurizes, when the atmosphere depressurizes after that, hydrogen, ionized hydrogen from above, is able to come back into our world, slams into and splits right through a literal ocean of ionized oxygen, creating an actual physical ocean of water that drops down out of the sky. Not to worry if you do see a huge deluge outside your door or on your maps of the world that you live in. I'm here to tell you it's okay. All right. You are a survivor, or you are one of the surviving family members from those of long ago who survived the world flooding, which is a difficult thing to do. The world flooding is more, according to my research and according to what I've heard others say while researching, the flood is not the apocalypse you'd like to go through. Okay, it's very difficult to survive the flood. It lasts way longer. The whole winter apocalypse lasts way longer with Fimbulvinter, etc. This is the one to be in. This is going to be the hot one. This is going to be the quick, fast, hot apocalypse. All right, more on that another time. Let's move forward. Anyways, yeah, I guess they're saying that like all of the, icebergs and whatnot, everything's melting or whatever. Yeah, it's getting hotter. Like the sun is getting hotter. Let me just specify. The sun is getting hotter. Okay. We're gonna come back to the sun at the end of this, when we talk more about the sun and how it's got a big fat hole in it and other crazy things that are happening with the sun right now. But anyways, as the sun heats up, as it does, right? It's going to start changing colors. It's going to start making the air around it in the upper atmosphere where it is heat up, which is going to cause fluctuations in our weather patterns and disturb the jet stream and stuff like that up there. It's going to make its way down here. Then we're going to have alternating patterns of extreme heat and then extreme cold. Extreme heat followed by extreme cold. What's up, Trampus? I see you in the chat. Good to see you. Trampus says, we will be smitten by the sun. Indeed. Indeed, some will. All right, so here's another news article. Japan finds 7,000 islands that it didn't know that it had, right? What they're really, I guess what they're really saying is just like the government of Japan. Japan can't know anything because it's not a real entity. Okay, Japan exists only in people's minds. Okay, it's a descriptor that is given to a particular geographic area and location and then projected upon the people who live there. But anyways, in reality, it's just an area, right? But anyways, let's simplify it. The people in Japan find 7,000 islands they did not know that they had. Okay, we're talking about signs and omens, all right? So how is this a sign? How is this an omen? I will tell you, right? It is, there is a known occurrence. There is a known anomalous thing that happens over time. It's cyclical. That's how we know, okay? Those things that are covered up, those things that are concealed, there must always come a time when those things are uncovered and those things will be revealed. Typically, this is a type of prophecy that happens just before the apocalypse occurs, right? It happens just before the end of days or before Judgment Day, etc. The old ways start to return. Time itself gets all mixed up. Okay, it seems like we go through these like decades or whatever, and it's real solid progression or whatever. But in reality, just before we get to the plasma apocalypse, everything goes into flux. Everything fluctuates. Everything goes out of whack, out of control. And therefore, the humans respond in turn, trying to get a tighter grip on what they perceive as being control, right? So you'll see a lot of that happen too. As everything goes into flux, you'll see people responding by trying to get a tighter hold on others, thinking that that's going to help them to get a tighter hold on nature itself, which it's not. If they really wanted to control nature, they would change their attitudes. They would just be good people. That's what I think. I feel like the world would allow us to live a lot longer and allow us to be here and flourish a lot more if we didn't act so criminally ill, so devious and dirty and toxic and nasty. Anyways, I totally get it. But yeah, Japan finds 7,000. So there's these re-emerging islands. Okay, even if those islands were already there forever and they just missed them somehow, which also blows my mind, right? This is Japan. Okay, this is like a technologically advanced civilization, region, etc. And that's super interesting that they just, you know, there they are. There's those islands, right? You can't just miss 7,000 freaking islands, okay? Not only that, but that speaks volumes on every single cartographer that Japan and others worldwide have employed in order to draw accurately depictions of these places on maps, right? Anyways, getting back to the signs and the omens behind this, aside from it just being kind of funny and interesting, right? The reality is, symbolically, it is forgotten and unknown lands that return, okay? Just like you will see the return of Atlantis. You will see the return... Well, I should say we. I mean we collectively, okay? I don't know if you individually will see that, but we collectively, I plan on seeing the return of Lemuria, Atlantis, other lost and phantom islands, lands, and places, especially as the Earth starts to go into flux and change and start acting real funny when it comes to water levels going up or down, severe weather worldwide. It's going to get crazier and crazier. So yeah, Japan discovered 7,000 new islands. That's kind of mind-blowing. You know what I mean? I would like to have one. Actually, may I have one? That's a lot of islands. I just want a little one. But anyways, let's move forward. All right, a 5,000-mile seaweed belt, also called the Seaweed blob, which is interesting because I did a whole awesome video about the actual blob. I try to shout this dang video out a lot. It's one of my favorite ones, but it has hardly any views. It sucks. Like, I don't know what went wrong with that video, but the blob video is awesome. If you have time and you're interested in Ghostbusters, or you're interested in ectoplasm, or you're interested in the very real substance that ghosts leave behind, and how there's like a physical gooey substance or ooze or whatnot that can move about on its own, go check out that video. It's a great video. It's one of my favorite ones. Anyways, a 5,000-mile seaweed belt is headed towards the coast of Florida. That's just strange. That's just weird. That's a lot of weeds growing in the ocean. I really don't know what to say about that one. I just thought it was an interesting omen that we have all of this yucky, nasty, weirdo seaweed stuff. I'm not saying it's yucky either. I know in Japan they actually eat seaweed, or other Asian places, and it's supposed to be good for us too. Maybe that's the ocean's way of saying, here, eat healthy, damn it. Like, here's a whole bunch. Like, you know what I mean? Because you can eat seaweed. And allegedly, it's pretty healthy for you too. So maybe that's the ocean's way of like really trying to help out before the world's eradicated. Then we have the discovery of what is being called the eighth continent, a new continent. Same thing as what we talked about with Japan, right? We've got these old forgotten lands that are coming to the surface, that are being revealed, that are being found once again, right? Even though they still put others on the back burner, like Lemuria, Atlantis, etc. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Yeah, all these old and forgotten lands are popping up. Look, here's just a little image. Here, let me scooch it over there. I don't have to move. Here's an image of it, right? You can see that this is all the way around New Zealand. And that most of the land of the continent that they're talking about is underwater, right? Congratulations to all my Aussie friends. My Aussie. Somebody was making fun of how I said that. My Aussie. I can't do it. I can't do it today. That's not a continent. It's a continent. I can't do it. Anyways, congratulations to everybody in New Zealand. And congratulations for just living in New Zealand. That on its own is awesome. Like I'm a jelly over here in the United States. But anyways, that right there, you see that little shelf, Scooby-Doo, that little shelf around New Zealand there, that continues on. Okay, if you were to remove all of the water, you would be able to see various landforms and stuff. All of the water is just covering all the low-level land. Okay, all that water didn't used to be there. There used to be Lemuria in that spot. Actually, that spot right there, according to the Urbano Monte map that we just broke down a couple of different times recently, that spot used to actually be Antarctic land that came way inward, right? Anyways, this is also Lemuria coming back to the surface, the old ways returning, etc. Now, while the physical rivers of water are drying up from country to country worldwide, in California, they have what they call atmospheric rivers. What the hell? What is an atmospheric river? What is that? Why is there such strange terminology that's popping up all over the place? I'll tell you. It's because we're in flux. So when you're in flux, all kinds of new and weird and strange things start happening that is not normal and that people are not used to. So the vocabulary has to adapt as the times change, right? So anyways, there's these weird atmospheric rivers. I'm going to tell you what's going on, basically, in my own opinion, is that the sun's heating up. As it heats up, it's causing all this fluctuation up there in the upper atmosphere. Sorry about that. It's up there in the upper atmosphere, and it's getting hotter. As it's getting hotter, it's causing fluctuations, leaving a trail of... how do I describe that? Leaving a wake in its path. Right? Leaving a stronger sun wake. I don't know how to describe that. But anyways, all that heat, okay? All that intensified heat is like leaving a wake behind it as the sun spirals around above us. And as that wake, as those waves, I don't know how to describe it, but I'm trying my best. As those waves of heat that are emanating outward from the sun get hotter and hotter and hotter, you're going to start seeing currents and eddies start up there in the atmosphere doing really strange and weird things, right? Creating even what they call above California atmospheric rivers, right? That of water that will just drench an entire area. Very interesting. All right, we've got oxygen. This article says oxygen in the early Earth's atmosphere may have come from rocks, one study finds. So, oxygen in early Earth's atmosphere may have come from rocks. I like this, actually. I like the idea because I also feel like oxygen may, well, I don't know if it comes from rocks, but it can be released from the rocks for sure. But I like this idea because it jives and vibes with, I just wanted to rhyme. It jives and vibes with my theory that I've been talking about how that inner earth energy is ionized oxygen, that it's oxygenated, right? Or it's oxygenized, however you say that. And as it shoots through the earth, every other apocalyptic cycle, we don't have that benefit right now. But if we did, and we lived under the red sky where you can see all those blue beams shooting out like tent poles trying to hold up the heavens, then all of those places, or polises, or places where the poles are, or major cities, those that connect to huge underground cavernous systems would naturally have their rocks oxygenized. Like, you know what I mean? Like the oxygen would go into the rocks as it's piercing the earth and shooting outward up to the sky or whatever, right? I would expect there to be found a whole bunch. My vocabulary is crazy today. A whole bunch of oxygen inside of rocks, and especially those rocks that are closer to these inner earth cavernous systems, right? So that was pretty interesting. Now this right here, let's check this out real quick. Okay, there's a few different articles on this particular fossil. On the left, you can see what looks like a rock coin of sorts of an upside down jellyfish. But it's not really an upside down jellyfish. That's what caught my eye, right? Because I like the jellies. An upside down jellyfish. What they're saying is it's actually a creature, an underwater creature called the Esexella. And they're saying it's a 310 million year old fossil sea anemone. The sea anemone, right? This is a fossilized sea anemone. That's what they're saying. That's what this is. This is a sea anemone. You see that right over there? Right? Just a little soft little creature down there in the ocean. Poisonous too. Yeah. Check this out. It's fossilized. It's rock. Like most of this creature's entire body is made out of water. Okay. Most of our body's actually made out of water too. So we have a lot in common with this creature already. But anyways, I find this to be really weird, right? How do you go from this in the water, which is where they live, submerged and surrounded by water that they need in order to live, right? When they're made of mostly water, they got these little loose little jelly tentacle type things all over the place. And then something happens to cause it to petrify into rock, keeping its form and everything. Hold on, let me show you. Let's make this a little bigger if I can. I'm not sure how big I can make that. Hold on, let's see. Just so we can try to see some details, right? You can see details in this rock. You can see the little tentacles and everything, right? How does this type of a thing, like jellyfish and invertebrates of various types that live in the ocean, like how do they petrify? Modern academics and science usually goes with the story that, well, it must have just been covered in some mud a long time ago. Maybe there was a nearby volcano that went off and all that mud runned off down into the ocean down yonder and got all hard and stuff, and it created a rock out of a jellyfish. That's how they sound to me. I'm dead serious. No. Okay, that doesn't sound feasible. That doesn't sound realistic. That sounds like a huge stretch, okay? This object is not likely to petrify, okay? Not only that, but everything around it is petrified. You know what I mean? You can't just put mud on top of something, especially if the mud is already underwater. Then it just turns into muddy water. Like, you know what I mean? Right? And then I guess the water would have to just disappear. And then one day, like, this thing's gonna rot, dude. Like, even if it's buried in mud or whatever, you know what I mean? And that's what they say for everything. They say that all the fossils in the world that just sat there in a giant mud bath. And while they sat there, they got harder and harder over billions of years, mind you, right? Anyways. All right, so there's that thing. Interesting. Let's see. What else we got? Oh, that's the anemone. The mini. Our moon. Let's talk about the moon. We haven't talked about the moon for a while. Let me make this smaller. I did a poor job on screenshotting this thing. I better do better before we do Truth in Movies, right? Truth in Movies coming up. By the way, we're voting on this week's Truth in Movies. I put up a thing where you guys can all vote on my community tab. If you go to my main channel, go over to the community tab, click on that. And then you can look and see the most recent post it's a fight between, it's a little fight, between Fight Club on one side and Spaceballs on the other side. It's pretty close right now. It's neck and neck. So I don't know. I'm probably going to end it like an hour. I'm going to make my decision maybe like in an hour from now or something. I'm not sure. So go vote. Go vote if you want to, have a part in our Truth in Movies this week. All right, let's talk about the moon. Our moon is slowly moving away from Earth a little bit each year. Really? Why? What the hell? Why is that happening, right? What's going on? Why would it do that? Everything in science, in mainstream academic science thought, says that it should be crashing into us. It should be getting closer every year because there's the whole gravity and, this gravity is attracted to that gravity and now they're boink, right? Isn't that how it's supposed to work? What the hell is causing the moon to get further and further away every year, right? Wasn't it? Don't they say it was attracted to us in the first place? What did we do wrong, moon? I mean, come on, like talk to us. Don't just leave. God. I'm so sorry. Don't hate me for drinking soda. I'm sorry about the soda. But anyways, The moon, they say, is getting further and further away. How is this a sign and an omen? I will tell you my interpretation. But before I do, why is this so gigantic? Let me make that smaller. There we go. All right, cool. So here's my interpretation of that. The moon's getting smaller. Okay, the moon is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller because it's a projection of what's going on up there in our skies, which most people are completely oblivious to because they just believe the mainstream academic model. But just for the exact same reason that the sun is getting brighter and brighter and probably also smaller, it's just that it's hard to notice the sun because it's hard to stare at it and look at it or whatever. The moon is getting smaller. Right? For the exact same reason that the sun is getting brighter and brighter and brighter because it's getting more and more focused, which means that that amount of daylight is getting smaller and smaller, which means that the amount of time in a day is shrinking and getting smaller and smaller. Mainstream academics will tell you that your world is spinning around and speeding up. It's just speeding up. It's just randomly decided to turn on the thrusters, the earth thrusters, and just start speeding up. Anyways, the sun's getting hotter. It's getting more focused, causing less daylight time, which means that there are less amount of time or hours in a day, right? And it's also causing the sun to get hot, the upper atmosphere to get hot, etc. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. And because it's getting smaller and smaller, that projection that we call the moon, or that plasma light up in the sky that represents a real physical object further behind it, that projection is going to get smaller and smaller. Just like that daytime that goes around our world is also going to get smaller and smaller and hotter, right? So yeah, the moon's getting smaller and smaller. And so they're saying, oh, well, it must be going away. It must be going bye-bye. Like, well, that's the idiocracy politicians of the world and mainstream academics. Oh, it's getting smaller. Moon must be going bye-bye. That's how I hear them talking in my head. Anyways, yeah, the sun, they say the moon is ditching us. The moon's breaking up with the earth. Okay. The moon's breaking up with us. Mother Nature's taking away our water supply. Nobody likes us. And I don't include myself in that. I feel decent. I feel pretty awesome. However, there's good and bad in the world, right? And yeah, it's crazy. Crazy times we live in. So they also say the moon is shrinking. They literally will say, now there's conflict between all their various little theories, and you know what I mean? But this is all mainstream stuff that they themselves have put out. They also say, why is the moon shrinking? And if you look this up, they will tell you, as a matter of fact, that's right. That's right, Ken. The moon is shrinking. We go live now to Rebecca. Rebecca, why is the moon shrinking? John, I have no idea. I didn't even know that was possible. How does a planet get smaller? You know what I mean? This is mind-blowing. If you look up the article, they will actually try to come up with reasons to tell you why it's getting smaller and smaller and why that makes so much sense and why you should think that makes sense too. I'm telling you that it's not a physical object, so it's very easy for it to get smaller or bigger, right? I mean, the one that we look at, the hologram, the light in the sky that we see, that one can get bigger or smaller. But anyways, it's shrinking because it's shrinking. Okay, it's literally getting smaller because it's getting more focused. And that means that the moon should, if I'm correct, get brighter. That the moon, you'll see the moon get brighter and brighter and even start to change color. Which brings us Gen 2 gone, Angel Lovebud, Browsy. Which brings us, I'm just kidding. I just want to mess with you guys. No, I mean, not in a bad way. I just like to be a part of the fun. All right, which brings us to the sun. See that black thing on the sun? That's a hole. They say. Okay. I don't know what the hell that actually is, because I don't even know if that actually is the sun or not, right? But that's a big old hole in the sun. They don't even call it a, what do you call it? Like sunspot? They don't even call it a sunspot. They're like, nope, that's just a hole. It's just a hole in the sun, right? Okay, well, listen, the sun, how is it a sign and an omen? Because it represents the macrocosmic scale, okay? The sun is created by something that is much bigger than it is, that wraps around our world, basically. And if you get a hole in the sun, and they start talking about a hole in the ozone layer and all this other stuff, and things like that, It's a sign you're going to get a hole in the sky. Okay, there's going to be a hole that opens up in the sky itself, causing the world and the atmosphere to depressurize. It's a sign, it's an omen, and it's interesting. They say that it's like blasting solar winds. Wind? Okay, what happened? What happened? Hold on. What happened? Hold on. What happened to space being a vacuum? Did that just go away? Did they just dismiss that? Is that going to be laughed at by children who are also academics in like 10 or 15 years? They used to teach this, that space was a vacuum. How in the hell do you have wind? You know what I mean? Like in a vacuum. It should just dissipate. It should just go all different directions and just, you know what I mean? Just get sucked up by space. It shouldn't have weather in space. It shouldn't have wind and tornadoes and freaking weather and clouds and freaking dust storm, all this weird stuff. Okay. Space is getting weird. The more we get weird, the more we're attributing that weirdness and projecting it out onto other things too. So space is getting weird lately. Anyways, there's a big old hole in the sun, and apparently it's blowing a bunch of space wind in our direction. Don't worry. They have not said if the space wind is able to like knock the earth off its course. You know what I mean? If I imagine if you're just hanging in absolute nothingness in a big fat vacuum, right? And somebody goes, like in my mind, it makes sense that that object would be gone. It would be blown away, right? That we would just get further and further away from the sun and the whole planet would freeze, or, you know, however their model works out. But yeah, don't worry. We're not going to go anywhere. I'll tell you why. It's because we're solid. I am. I don't know what kind of world you guys live on, but mine is solid, stationary, and pretty much stays in one spot. Shakes a little from time to time, you know, but it's not spinning around and flying through some crazy vacuum full of space weather. But that's me. That's just me. Anyways, let's check out something else about the sun. This is from a NASA website. You'll have to ignore all this little other garbage over there. You see all this other stuff? I was screenshotting, and I've been working on improving my esoteric library on my website. I can't wait. I really can't wait, because people will finally be able to search through my esoteric website. If you don't know what that is, check out my website, JayDreamerZ.com. And there's an area under the members section called the Esoteric website. It is over 10,000 volumes. Okay. So imagine walking into a library of all of your favorite esoteric, arcane, and occult subjects, and it is full of over 10,000 volumes. Okay. Which include books, maps, drawings, pictures, all kinds of different things. Anyways, I'm busy making it look a little better and easier to navigate on my website. So that's what that is. These are like, that's a tiny little portion. These are all files. Okay. That's like probably less than 1% of all the files that I'm still uploading to my website right now. It's going to be a lot, and I'll be referencing it more often so that I can, you know, put it out there, because it's a valuable resource and it's really awesome. All right. So this is straight from NASA's website. Check this out. It's straight from NASA. Okay. NASA.com. This is where this comes from. So they say, and this, you know where this came from? I recently, in my community section, I've been having more fun posting stuff in the community section lately. I did post a quick little YouTube short of a game, like a game show, and where they're asking trivia questions to their contestants. And the question was, what color is the sun? And they all kind of made jokes at first, because really they have no idea. You can tell they're all like lost. You know what I mean? It should, if I wish they would have just asked children, they would have quickly probably given them the answer. But all these grown-ups are just joking and making jokes. Really, they're just buying time to try to figure it out, because they don't know what color the sun is. And the answer was, the sun is white with a tinge of blue. Go check out that video too. It's pretty interesting. And here's what NASA says about it. They say, so the sun actually emits energy at all wavelengths from radio to gamma rays. But as can be seen in the image above, and they had an image above there, it's just a graph, it emits most of its energy around 500 nm, which is close to blue-green light. So one might say that the sun is blue-green. I kid you not. They're starting to slip all these little tiny references into to try to quickly have the frog in the pot become accustomed to the rising heat. That is definitely an omen and a sign that dinner is on the way. Okay, especially if you're in Louisiana or someplace where they eat frogs, right? France. I don't know. I don't eat frogs, but anyways, you know what I mean, right? The sun is turning blue. The moon will also probably turn blue. Daylight is shrinking. It's getting hotter and hotter. The moon is shrinking, getting smaller and smaller, and it looks like it's getting further away or whatever. And the sun is turning blue. So they're going to start slipping in little references to a blue sun, or how the sun, oh yeah, there's always been like a little hint of blue. No. Bad NASA. Bad news. Okay. Not true. Okay. There was, everything is cyclical, everything's repetitious. But when we were younger, okay, we remember a yellow sun. We remember an orange sun. Okay, the red sun. I don't particularly remember the red sun myself because I wasn't born that long ago. But here's a picture. You can pull up you can go take a picture with your phone right now if it's a sunny day where you are, okay? And you can capture the blue ring of death that is getting ready to charge up, charge out, do your thing, do your stuff, go get them. That's from Independence Day. But anyways, check it out. Let's make this even bigger. I'm gonna make this as big, super extra big. Hold on. All right. Now, this is a regular picture. Amateur photography. Can you see there is a blue ring right around the corona? It's also not perfectly circular, which is also really interesting too. Clearly, right? It's not perfectly circular. I don't know. That could be some sort of artifact from the camera. I don't want to speculate too much, but what I will tell you is that I have seen a blue tinge around the sun, and I've seen it in the moon. I see it every night in the moonlight. Okay, if you stand under the pale moonlight, it's no longer a pale white, it's a pale blue. So, I mean, at least for me it is, right? But yeah, be careful, beware. This thing right here. Tss, so hot. Tss, so hot again. Anyways, I'm just kidding. All right, anyways, well, that was pretty much it. Whenever I do these presentations, just as a heads up, I am going to end up putting this entire like little podcast or whatever this is called. I'm going to make it for members, okay, in the future. The old episode will be accessible to anybody who's a member on my channel. Anybody will be free to watch these Omen podcasts or whatever. I don't know if this is a podcast. Is this a podcast? I don't know what I'm doing. But anybody will be able to watch it live. Public, boom, live stream to the public. I might make it so that only members can be in the chat with the mods and members in the chat, just to do something special to show my appreciation and my love to all the people who support me and my loved ones. But I will always leave up like the most current episode, and there will always be one there for everybody to watch, even if you're not members. So that way you can have, at least like a whole week to be able to try to catch up and watch the whole episode before I archive it and I put it in there with the members. So hopefully that's cool with all you guys. I hope you're having a blast. Isn't it fun? Isn't it interesting, right? Last week I was pissed. Last week I was so freaking heated. Ooh, God, I almost had a tear just now. I feel a little tear, actually. Man, last week was crazy. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, all over the place, right? But we're in flux. Times are changing. So am I. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
Ooh.